Hi, I'm Memoryman of Memoryman.com, and today we're going to discuss how we can remember the articles of the U.S. Constitution. Now, in remembering anything, you first have to understand that you're not using a system to remember it on its own. Okay, the system on its own. No, use the system in a total picture. You have a natural memory, and the system I'll be hand feeding you today will allow you to pull out the information from your natural memory. So first you have to read the Constitution, get into your natural memory, understand it, and generally be able to recognize it if you read that particular amendment again. And now we move forward with the how can we create so-called cue cards of the mind to pull the information out. So let's see how I did it, and you can kind of follow the way I did. So first I said, what's the question? There are articles, okay? I saw articles of clothing, the articles of clothing, and I made these images. Once I understood it, once I read it, once I comprehended it, once it was in my cognition, once it was in my natural memory, once if I knew if there was something that could remind me that I'd be able to pull it out of my head, it would make sense. And I started to make these images. So the articles of clothing, we're moving into a scent stamp to remind us that first we have the first one, which is the setting up of the Senate, the legislature, basically the legislative branch. Then came the next image. Well, what was this next article? The next article was the President of the United States, creating the executive branch. So I saw the presidential seal. I saw the scent stamp going into the president, and I made an association. Once again, we've got only a few minutes here. You can go to memorymen.com and get the whole free 2 hours absolutely free and learn all about how to use this in its more diverse and expanded fashion. Okay, then the third one was, of course, we have the president was the second. The third one was the judicial. I saw the presidential seal going into a gavel. The fourth one was, and I just remember these myself. I'm 70 years old. I haven't read the Constitution since I've been in college or high school, so I didn't have it in my natural memory. I had to put it in my natural memory. I'm pulling it out just like you'll be pulling it out of your head. So we had the Senate or the legislative, then we had the presidential seal, which is the president, then we had the gavel, which was the judicial area, and then the gavel was going into some staples, which was states' rights. Okay, all the states could have their rights. Where was the staple going? It was going into a sewing machine that mends things, because there's also in those articles said that you could make amendments. There were 27, by the way, but that's another story. Okay, and then of course after the amendments, the next article, I think this was the sixth, just by process of elimination, was IOUs. In other words, even though you're making this new country, we're going to pay all the debts, and they use the word confederation. Okay. Are going to be good. So don't worry about this new country. Everyone's still going to get paid for things that people owe them. And then finally, you had the last but not least, which was the hardest one, I think, to remember at all, which was the ratification of it. Okay, I saw a raft, and you notice I had trouble pulling that out because I'm doing it just like you. Okay, when you see me on stage memorizing a 50-digit number as quickly as you hear folks, I'm using these systems, and those were the 7 articles. Okay, now you might say, well, you didn't do it in detail. Well, you got to decide how much or less you want to use in a memory system to remind you of how much. If you say, well, I need more images because it's not really reminding me of everything, put more images in. I want to remember it word for word and recite it. Wow. Then you may need even more images. Once again, what is the Memoryman system? It's remembering things in your natural memory. It's using the Memoryman system to remind you of what those natural things are in your what those things are in your natural memory, and being creative, organized and visual, making your images, being able to recall, and go to memoryman.com and learn the whole science.